there's so many communities that haven't been tapped into for good wealth management services. We really want to demystify that and that's the education that's kind of built into the AI, right? And we'll get to this in a minute. But so you got that. And you have just sort of a phenomena of folks not being comfortable with finance. And that's almost everyone except for like sort of the finance bros, right? Like when you look at me, I will say nobody thinks Wall Street, but I was a Wall Street attorney. That's really the genesis of a lot of this, right? And so I realized early on that I want to make sure that people have access to information to make the best decisions for them. And there's a lot of barriers, and some of those barriers can be solved with technology.
Have you seen any changes in like the customer service workflow with agentic AI?
Sure. I mean, I think we're taking customer service to customer engagement. That's the way I think about it. Because, look, customer service AI agents actually have been around for a while. But what they don't do is that they're not walking people through to the next decision. It's generally, give me information, I need my account balance, or I need to, what are your hours, or, whatever sort of customer service inquiry. And that's huge. And there's nothing, that's a huge problem that's being solved. And I think there's lots of companies that are doing that. What we're looking at, though, is not just customer service, but how do you get maybe they're coming to your site and because they need, do you offer CDs? Yes. And would you like to know more about our CDs? Yes. Okay. What are you looking for? What are your goals? How do you actually take the place of a human in that conversation? Because humans generally will have an additional set of questions, right? If you're a good salesperson, you're going to try to sell something else. They're coming for one thing and you're going to sell them something else. And I think that's to us, the engagement piece. So not only are you collecting data on your customers, without having to do a survey, because no one wants surveys. So you're getting real-time data and you're moving them through a process so they're getting value out of that conversation without having to do anything. And from a customer experience perspective, I think that getting that value up front is really important.
I think something's interesting about this because you're saying like you're having follow-up questions during while they're communicating with your agent. And something that's really interesting is that 5 years ago, the way I would interact with an agent like this would be, I would be thinking, okay, what's the decision tree? How do I get to where I need to go?
Correct.
One-word answers. But now that it's so ubiquitous, people realize that you can speak naturally to an agent. And now with agents, like the agentic workflow, you can actually discern meaning and action from very broad sentences, which makes it's just the perfect time to do this.
Right. It's the sort of turning point. It's the magic, right? But also, when you need deterministic workflows, you can still build that in.
Yep, absolutely.
Because not everything, especially in financial services, is undeterministic. In fact, you have a lot of things that have a real, I'm going to ask you a set of questions, and then there's going to be some set answers, or there's a pathway down this, there's a real pathway that we need you to follow. So that's important too, because I think while ChatGPT, you can just sort of ask it anything, it can feel like a lot of rabbit holes, right? And in financial services, we're trying to move someone from point A to B, right? I always tell my team, we're solving a problem for someone, right? So customers coming to that bank and they want information, they want to do something, they want that sort of experience to solve their problem. So how do we do that, right? How do we get them the information they need? And then how do we get them to that next step to take action? Right. So if someone's asking about investing, I don't want to just be like, theoretically, here's what investing is. I want to say, okay, you're interested. How do we get you from here to opening an investment account?
Yeah. And we need this information from you because that's where you have that deterministic aspect, right? And that the hybrid of the deterministic and the agent, I think, is brilliant. That's the way you have to do it.
Yeah. It's pretty powerful.
So let's go back to your mission. All right. You want to serve underserved. And so how has this new product or this new technology helped you achieve that?
So in two ways. The way that we think about it, like I said, and that we're focused right now on enterprise, because these are institutions that are already in communities. So it's kind of solving two problems. One is and this came out of just my fintech days generally, is that you were looking at community banks, CDFIs, credit unions who are being disrupted by fintech. This was early days, right? We had those conversations, but even now more so because AI is allowing folks to scale so much, so rapidly, right? And so if they're not at the place to adopt this technology, they're really going to be left behind. I don't want to see community banks closing. I don't want to see credit unions closing. I want them to have more access to people in their community because that's a real institution, right? It's a great institution. So how do we enable them to be in this play, right? How do we give them access to tools to help them compete in this new environment? So that's sort of one challenge, and we are directly addressing that challenge by going to associations, and this is my point, and saying, hey, all of your credit unions or all of your institutions actually need this support. Let's talk about sort of a one-to-many strategy. So that's one piece. The other is for the larger institutions is how do we help them go after a new audience at scale, and how do we save them money to do that, right? Because that was always the challenge, is that financial services, especially wealth management, the model itself, it was an expensive model, right? A client needs to have a certain amount of assets under management because that's how advisors get paid, right? And so if you're a young person, I mean, you don't have that many assets.
None.
Shoot, you might even be in your 40s and not have many assets, right?
I feel attacked. All right, continue.
And that's okay. But you still need good financial advice. And I would argue, actually, you need better financial advice to be able to build those assets. And so for us to be able to work with larger institutions and give them a tool that says, okay, with this technology, with this set of agents, we actually can 5x our ability to serve clients, which means we can take on maybe other types of clients, right? And that's the whole, or maybe we create a whole new division to go after new markets, young markets, and we're going to be able to use this technology to do that. And for them, and especially for a lot of the more traditional financial institutions, they have to adopt this because this new generation expects it, right? And this is not even a diversity question. This is just, if you look at the market, one, it is diverse, right? Just the new market's diverse. But second, they're also highly digitized in every part of their life. And they're going to expect that same kind of experience at any financial institution that they interact with. They're not going to call you. Right? You still have people submit this form or give us a call. No one's calling you. If they're 30, they're not calling you.
And you think about the credit unions, let's say my mom opened up my first account at a credit union.
That's right.
And this is the one I have. And now I'm expecting it to have these capabilities that it just doesn't have yet. And so this is the market that you're looking for as well.
Right. And that's, for us, that's part of that mission, is just let's empower those community financial institutions to do their best work.
How do you build trust? Like you said, you want these people to look at this application and this product and be like, I trust what it's saying. How do you build that?
Brand is and authenticity is the new currency. Yes, especially for financial services and a new demographic, like the new market. That's huge. They want authenticity in terms of what are you selling me? How much does it cost? What does it do for me, right? So there's that authenticity of just being transparent. But then there's also the authenticity of, hey, I'm letting you know this is what you need because I know your situation. I know you're a single mom. I'm telling you life insurance is the best thing for you to do to ensure that you have long-term security for your child. That's a very different narrative than me as a broker coming in saying, oh, hey, here's a bunch of life insurance products without having any connection to why it's important. And that's just the storytelling of it all.